Jim, off you go.
So what I thought I'd talk about today is 6 surprising sustainability facts. And in keeping with the solar theme, we'll start with the sun. It's staggering to realize that more energy falls on the Earth from the sun in a single hour than all energy we consume globally in an entire year, in a single hour. And so if you were to put all energy from the sun in this graph in yellow, that tiny sliver of black is all remaining fossil fuel globally. Or if you were to put it this way, this is the annual energy that falls on the Earth from the sun in yellow, the wind in blue, and everything we consume, all sources in that tiny red box. And so we've seen an incredible explosion in solar globally, but it's still only a tiny fraction of the total energy supply. But it's been growing at 40% a year compounded annually for the last decade. And that means, much like Moore's law, there's a declining cost curve to the point where you can see here that by 2020 it'll be cheaper than coal, cheaper than fossil fuel. And in fact, it's led Stephen Chu, who's a Nobel physicist and Secretary of Energy, to tell us he predicts a 75% decrease in cost of solar by 2020. So if you've listened to that famous energy analyst, well, we'll get to him in a second, but it's going to be far cheaper than nuclear. And the energy analyst, of course, is Wayne Gretzky, who says, I never go where the puck is, I go to where it's going to be. So here in Ontario, we're about to embark on a 40-year commitment to nuclear, which will be far, far more expensive by the time the first one is ready to produce 1 kilowatt hour of power than solar, which to me is a brain-dead decision. We should listen to Wayne. The fastest growing source of power in North America, surprise, surprise, is wind. More new wind power than all fossil fuel and nuclear added together last year. Here's another staggering sustainability fact. Going green is profitable. General Electric made a commitment with their Eco-Imagination program in 2005, and over the last 5 years, they've made $70 billion. $25 billion of it was in the last year, 2010. So they've doubled down on their spending rate for R&D to $2 billion a year for the next 5 years, so they'll spend $10 billion. If you get a chance to read just one book on sustainability, I'd commend you to this book. It's Ray Anderson's book. He's unfortunately got cancer. He's doing well. He's fighting it. But 14 years ago, he had a road to Damascus experience where he realized someday what he did would be illegal because 5 billion pounds of carpet end up in North American landfills every year. And so he committed to be a zero-impact company, no impact on the planet, and in fact be a restorative one and consume more negative things like carbon than they produce. Well, over the last 14 years, they've driven $405 million to their bottom line due to their green initiatives, which is 28% of their cumulative operating profit. So if you were to measure the value of the company on a PE basis, 28% is due to going green. And of course, Walmart is now spending $500 million a year on sustainability initiatives with paybacks of 4 years or less. And to get that same profitability, because they work on 3.3% net profits, they'd have to sell 15 billion more of goods. So they've got religion on going green. In fact, their transportation, they do 1 billion miles a year with 7,200 trucks. They've lost $200 million in 2009 of saving, and they've improved their fleet efficiency by 38% since 2005. Staggering. Direct to the bottom line. Going green is profitable. We can also look at it as a wise investment. Here's how much energy it takes to transport 1 ton of goods 1 mile by different methods in British thermal units. It's 31,000 BTUs by air, 2,300 by truck, 370 by rail, which by the way is an 85% reduction over trucking, and 322 by ocean. Now, what is the net impact of that? Well, This guy, who's supposedly one of the top brightest guys, Bill Gates, is now the largest investor in CN Rail. And Warren Buffett has bet billions on US Rail. Which way is the puck going? It's really about staying ahead of the curve. And so I want to focus on simple solutions because the solutions really are quite simple. You know, Dell Computers is turning 50,000 PCs off at night and saving $1.8 million a year. You see, IT departments typically instruct you to leave your PC on so they can push out virus updates and patches and test them. But these three pieces of software will turn all the PCs off at night, boot them up at 3 in the morning, patch them, test them, boot them back down, and then they'll bring them back up at 7:30 in the morning so you don't have to experience that horrific 7-minute Windows boot sequence. And all saving you money. You know, more than half of the escalators in North America are on 24/365. Why? So these are surprising solutions. This is Henry Ford proudly standing in front of his original Model T that got 25 miles to the gallon. That's more than 100 years ago. And since then, we've had stunning technological innovation, put men on the moon. So let's look at 100 years of stunning innovation. Today, the average SUV gets 17 miles to the gallon. So we've been going aggressively backwards into the future. And if you were to look at the Prius, if every car in North America got the same fuel efficiency as my Prius, we'd not need to import any oil into North America. We'd not need to drill in the Gulf. We'd not need to drill in the Arctic. And so the choice of doing all this, when oil was 147 a barrel, the US was voluntarily transferring $700 billion a year to the Middle East because of the idiocy of executives in Detroit refusing to make energy-efficient vehicles. So the solutions are simple, they're currently available, and we need to embrace them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That was excellent, right on the button. Very popular.